All right, welcome back. It is 11:30-ish, and we are going to jam up into a few back-to-back things. So if you're interested in the workshops that are happening, the Klaviyo and Gadget workshops are in the Horseshoe area. So if you're looking for those, you will not find them here. Head on over to the Horseshoe. We're going to have our first lightning talk happening here in this room. After that, we've got the agency panel, and then building a retention department concurrently with Mike Hogan from Irish Titan is doing a delivery workshop. So all that to say, if you're planning to do that delivery workshop at 12:30, you may want to sit kind of toward the back so it's not as disruptive as you transition. Yep, workshop. Okay, the power of personal branding. So we're going to welcome up Nigel Thomas. He's the CEO of Alpha Inbound. Nigel's going to talk to us about how to leverage personal branding to grow your agency. So join me in welcoming Nigel. There you are.
How's the clicker work? Just forward and back, right?
Yes, forward and back.
Okay, just cool. I was asking, are we on? Yeah. I was asking my personal trainer for some advice on public speaking. She told me to imagine everyone naked. So if I look at you a little bit weird, you know what's happening. But anyway. So yeah, it's funny how life works out, isn't it? Just 2 years ago, me and the founding members of Alpha Inbound, we were trying to reach out and get the attention of different brands. And one particular brand that we kept on going after was No Days Wasted. They're a vitamin company in Canada, and they help people with their celebrations. And we just couldn't get the attention of this brand. We tried everything possible, but to no avail. Fast forward 2 years, one thing led to another, and obviously the success that comes with business and the opportunities that come our way. As the old saying goes, when your idols become your housemates. So me and Nishal, the CEO of No Days Wasted, actually now live together. We don't work together, not yet. I take my sales very seriously, but we share the same apartment in Vancouver. And how all this came about is a little thing I like to call an online personality or a personal brand. Really something that can change the trajectory of your life and your business. I'm going to show you how I've done that and how you guys can do that today. And also good news, the No Days Wasted product, I've got a sample here. We've got samples for everyone to test them tonight. So when you're having a couple of drinks, it's all natural, pop one of these in, and then tomorrow you wake up fresh as a daisy. So excited to try that out. But life wasn't always this way. Back in 2018, I was working as part of a big construction consultancy called Ecommerce. And my job title was a quantity surveyor. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's basically someone who counts bricks and tells the clients how much money they've lost on their construction projects. As you can imagine, they're a happy bunch of people. Not really, everyone hates their life, and they're just there for the paycheck. So I was more than happy to get out of that industry. But my parents, they weren't so happy. They were chartered accountants by trade, and when they heard that I was going to go out and start my own marketing agency, throw my chartership in the bin and go all in, they were a little bit distressed to say the least. But I ignored their advice, and there's rebellious Nigel on the left-hand side posting out onto Facebook, going into the entrepreneurship world, and a big fist pump telling my parents I can do this. But like I said, life has a funny way of working out, and karma was about to bite me right in the ass. Now, people tell me I've got away with words. I'll let you guys be the judge of that today. But I managed to blag my way at the start in convincing a big sportswear brand through cold email that I should be the one running all their Facebook ads. And they were doing about 20 million a year at the time. And things were going great. They were about 80% of my revenue, but I got complacent. I stopped doing business development. I stopped doing sales. And then I got on a call with them one day and everything changed. Great news for them. They told me they'd been bought out by an aggregator. Not so great news for me. They'd had an internal marketing team, this aggregator, so my services were no longer needed. Pretty much all my revenue gone overnight. And to add to that, some poor financial decisions that I've been making at the time in the lead up to this, maxing out credit cards, taking loans with high interest rates. I found myself $50,000 worth of debt and jobless. Not a great position to be in, right? Unfortunately, things are about to get worse for me, although at this stage, you can imagine my mum and dad's faces. They didn't say anything to me, but the looks on it said it all. I told you so. So I found another guy in the digital marketing space, and he wanted help building his agency. He was busy building other businesses, and he wanted to build a new agency in the real estate space. It was essentially a lead gen agency. We were helping realtors find new home buyers through Facebook ads. And, I had the title of COO, but really, because this guy was busy, I was pretty much managing the entire team. This was in COVID in 2020. We got it to a 7-figure run rate, a team of 20 people, and it was amazing. Like, honestly, the positivity, the spirit, it was incredible. And that was my first real taste of business success. So I was loving life, I'm not going to lie. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, the owner wanted more control. So I logged in one day to find myself locked out of company finances. I was being auto-recorded on Zoom calls, and I was stripped of key responsibilities. And when I went to put him on the spot and ask him why, he denied it, and he gave me a load of excuses. And this was a sign of what was to come. Over the coming months, poor financial decisions were made, risks were taken that shouldn't have been, and the environment turned completely toxic. Key members left, and ultimately, the business was run into the ground, and we all lost our jobs. But for me, that wasn't the worst part. Now imagine, 18 months I've been grinding away building this business from scratch. The positivity, the energy, the way it changed these people's lives, it was truly incredible. To see that ripped apart in front of my very own eyes, and to see how these people were treated, that's when I hit rock bottom. As a natural leader, remember, I was the one who recruited all these people and trained them up. To see that happen, it was soul destroying. And I'm not ashamed to say it, that brought me to tears. But every cloud has a silver lining. I didn't get the credit for building that company, but I did get the experience. Experience recruiting people, experience managing teams, experience building key company operations, and more importantly, experience seeing the whole life cycle of a startup from start to finish. I just needed the opportunity to go and implement that. And luckily for me, I found one. Enter Alpha Inbound and Josh. So Josh is the founder of Alpha Inbound, and at the time, he was running this agency on his own. He had a couple of clients, but to supplement his income, he was also working as a media buyer at some other agencies. And I saw someone there who needed help, who needed some belief, and I could really help him out with my skill set. And also for me, I needed someone who I could rely on and someone who I could trust, bearing in mind, obviously, my previous experience. So I saw there a sleeping giant ready to be awoken and an opportunity to prove to myself and to the world that I could do this. So we rebuilt the entire agency from scratch, and I did what I knew best to win new business, which was cold email and outbound sales. We got it to a decent run rate. We had a foundation there. I'm just going to be honest, we weren't that different in the marketplace. We were just another Facebook ad agency. So we needed a competitive advantage. And then a moment in January 2022 which changed my life forever. I was listening to Stephen Bartlett. Does anyone know who he is? Yeah, so he has a podcast called The Diary of a CEO. He actually grew Social Chain. That is the fastest growing ever social media marketing agency in Europe. And they sold on the German stock exchange for about 400 million. So this guy's a serial entrepreneur in his own right. And he said something which he went to pitch 10 investors on one of their business opportunities. Remember at the time, obviously, and still now, he had a massive online presence. And 7 out of those 10 investors, prior to that meeting starting, asked for a photo with him. So he said, my reputation got to the room before I did. He wasn't pitching investors that day. He was pitching his own fans. Imagine how that power dynamic shifts. And that's what a personal brand and an online personality can do for you guys. So for me, this is where my online personality begun. And here's what I've discovered. But let's take a step back and look at the evolution of networking. So 20 years ago, if you were going to get in touch with a high-profile person, you'd either need to know someone, you use the old methods of PR, such as radio, TV, newspapers, or you do it the old-fashioned way and work your way up the corporate ladder until you got the opportunity. But now we have this little thing called the internet, and that's changed everything. All you need is an internet connection and a device to do it on, and you can reach anyone in the world, which is completely transformational. Then something else, I think, I like to think from a first principles perspective personally, and we all get caught up in these digital ecosystems, and we forget what's happening in the real world. So I don't know if you can see that on the left-hand side, but 2/3 of the world are online. 1/3 isn't yet, and this is social media users versus total population. So we look at continents such as Asia and Africa, they haven't even got access yet. So it's needless to say, if you thought this opportunity had been and gone, it's not. We're just at the start of this massive migration from offline to online, and that's exciting. And then the power of leverage. So I used to think the top 1% were the top 1% because they worked harder than everyone else. Try telling that to the person in a developing country who's working 18 hours a day, breaking their back to support their family. Try telling them to work harder. It's not going to happen, is it? No, the top 1%, they don't work harder than you. They work smarter, and they work with leverage. So what is leverage? It's basically getting maximum output for every input of time. So I'll give you an example. Person A writes one LinkedIn post. 10 people read it. Person B, however, writes one LinkedIn post. 100,000 people read it. Same input, same amount of work, same amount of effort, extraordinarily different outputs. That, my friends, is leverage. There's 4 main types of leverage. You've got capital, which is obviously winning new business, finding investors to help grow your companies faster. Then we've got technology. We all know about the rise of AI, doing things that humans otherwise couldn't, or 100 times faster for 100th of the cost. Then we've got the old way, talent, how the Egyptians built the pyramids, aligning a big group of people with one core vision and driving to that vision faster than one person ever could. And then we've got media, what I'm here to talk to you guys about today, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, podcasts, newsletters, influencing a massive audience to open doors that you never thought possible. And the interesting thing is media connects all of these together. But before we go on, I just want to ask you all a question. Why is it that a lot of you in this room, you haven't started building your personal brand online yet? Well, if it was like me, you're busy, right? You're busy running a business. You're busy solving problems. Probably doing one of these 5 things. Recruiting new talent, finding new investors to help grow your companies faster, winning new business through sales, finding the best technology so you're more efficient. What we're all here to do today. Network, build strategic alliances in our industry to share best practices, share business, so we can all rise together faster. But the interesting thing is if you build a personal brand, it does all of these things for you. And it's funny, isn't it? Because the reason why you're not getting started is because you're doing all of these things. But if you built that one asset, it will connect all the dots. And I understood this, and I understood that no one was going to save me. No one was going to come and do this for me. I had to put time aside, make the sacrifice, and build this asset myself. And I'm going to put you all on the spot for a second. Because if those of you who say that you haven't got time to write online, then it's never going to happen. You're going to have to put the time aside, or you're just going to be solving these problems for the rest of your life. You're going to miss out on this huge opportunity. So the choice is yours. So I started posting every day. LinkedIn was my platform of choice. And at first, my content sucked. So I'm going to show you a few examples. I don't know if you can read this. Pretty clueless, directionless. Didn't really have a clue what I was doing, to be honest. But I got started. And if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be standing here on stage today. And I spoke to Alejandro. I don't know if he's out there in the audience today, but we had a conversation in Vancouver the other week. We went for a walk. And I said something to him, which was, at the start, a lot of people also don't get started because of imposter syndrome, fear of being judged. But because you're not going to get much reach, because your content's not going to be good, no one's actually going to see it. So, and even if they do, miraculously, if you're getting loads of reach, that means you're doing something right. So it's a win-win. You just need to get started. But then I understood the importance of strategy. So just like I said, the barriers to entry, now with that, everyone and their dog wants to be posting content online. To give some perspective, more than 300 million photos get uploaded every single day. Every single minute, there's 510,000 comments posted and 293,000 statuses updated. So just like if you were going to get in a car and drive to a certain destination, but you didn't put in the GPS of that destination, or you didn't look at a map, you get lost, right? Easy to understand. So why is it when I look at content, a lot of people don't apply the same principle, and then they're surprised when they don't get the end result? To stand out in a sea of noise, you need strategy. So what's my strategy? Now, to give you some context, Alpha Inbounds are a digital marketing agency. We help supplement and skincare brands between 5 and 50 million in revenue grow faster, find new customers through media buying, through UGC content, and through customized landing pages. They're also on Shopify. So that means there's about 5 to 10,000 brands like max in our ecosystem. So if I just wrote content for those guys, then there wouldn't be a massive audience. So I started thinking, how can I write for more people but still influence our ideal customer? So the idea is that I started thinking more deeply about this. Who do they speak to when they go to make a decision to work, in our case, with a new marketing agency? They'll talk to their internal team, ask for recommendations, think back to conversations with previous agencies. They'll talk to friends or other business owners. They'll ask for referrals from the SaaS providers they work with. And of course, they'll do their own market research. Now, imagine when they have this conversation at that critical decision-making stage, that the answer that comes back every single time is the same. Nigel Thomas at Alpha Inbounds, Nigel Thomas at Alpha Inbounds, Nigel Thomas at Alpha Inbounds, Nigel Thomas at Alpha Inbound. Who do you think they're going to want to work with? You guessed it, Nigel Thomas at Alpha Inbound. The key to a powerful content strategy is to become the solution before your ideal customer even has the problem that you're solving. And the way you do that is you influence all the key people that they speak to. So what's my secret sauce? Obviously, Rachel brought me along today to talk about that, why I'm having some success on LinkedIn. It boils down to 3 things. First, brutal consistency. Now, when I got started in Feb 2022, I didn't know if I was going to be creative enough to make this happen. But one hill that I knew I could die on was being brutally consistent, and more consistent than anyone else. So since Feb 2022, I've posted every single weekday, and I've never missed once, whether it's a birthday, a funeral, a networking event, a big problem in the business. Every single day I've not missed once. And I've done all the other best practices like engage with the community, engage with other people's content, so on and so forth, because it takes time to build that trust. But you will be rewarded. I'm going to show you the compound effects of that in just a second. Number 2 is variety. Now, we're all going to be, talking to each other offline today at the networking opportunities. We're going to be sharing our expert analysis, our case studies. We're going to be telling each other how our businesses are the best things since sliced bread, which, by the way, it wasn't even that good, so I'm not sure why that's a saying. And then, obviously, outside of that, we're also going to be entertaining each other. We're going to be having a laugh. We're going to be having some drinks. Obviously, we're going to be fresh with the No Days Wasted product. But the thing is, and that's where it comes to the 3rd point, and which is the most important and why I have a big competitive advantage, is personality. Everyone in this room has a personality, but not many people in this room take that personality online. What we've got to start understanding is, with the connection to the internet, and obviously AI and everything else, we've essentially uploaded our human psychology onto a massive database. But we haven't changed in terms of human biology. We're the same creatures. So just the way that we connect with people offline, we need to connect with people the same way online. But how do we communicate that personality? We do that through the power of storytelling. Now, the internet was created in 1983, for context. We've been storytelling as humans for over 50,000 years, whether that be orally, verbally, and now in our online worlds. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to bank on that evidence. But if that wasn't enough, I've also got the best-selling book of all time for you. Before you start guessing, it's not Harry Potter that comes in at a close second at 500 million copies sold. This little book has over 7 billion copies sold. Does anyone know what it is? The Bible. Correct, the Holy Bible. Now, don't worry, I'm not here to lecture you guys about religion, but what I can share is I went to a Christian school. I don't remember much about school, but what I do remember is how Jesus fed the 5,000, how Moses parted the Red Sea, and who could forget Noah's Ark. Storytelling is how we communicate as humans, how we log information in our brains, and how we build deep-rooted trust. So we need to start using storytelling in our content when we're building our brands online. And I'm going to show you some examples of how I've been doing that. So this is one of my posts recently on LinkedIn. I don't know if you can read it. It basically says, here's how to dominate in your 30s as a guy. Nothing to do with performance marketing, nothing to do with e-commerce. But before you judge me, let's see who's in the comments section. Kate Stevens, the founder of Bridge, Will Nitze, who's the owner of IQ Bar, and Jeremy Horowitz, who's one of the leaders at the Gorgeous team. I'm sure many of you know who these people are, really successful entrepreneurs in our industry, but this is a really, really important part where I want you guys to think. How much free time do you think these three people have in their day? Not much, right? Despite that, they've taken the time to go into LinkedIn, to read this post, to engage on it, and to comment on it. So what does that tell you? It tells you that people want to, be surrounded by likable people. They care about other people's stories. And more importantly, they care about your personality. And that's how you'll stay top of mind. Here's another example. The story I shared earlier, where I lost 80% of my revenue overnight. Let's see who's engaging. Spencer Mahoney from Atomic Coffee Roasters. Will Nitze, guy's clearly a super fan. And then we've got Drew as part of the Manscaped team. I'm a big believer to judge people by their actions, not their words. So these are the actions. I'll let you guys decide what the words are. And then here's a really extreme example. The horrific transformation of LinkedIn. Guys probably looking at that thinking, look, Nigel, I've got a big business to run, got problems to solve, haven't got time to talk about that kind of stuff. Again, let's see who's commenting. Sean Riley, CEO of Dude Wipes. Aaron Spivak, co-founder of Hush Blankets. Ryan Rouse, a well-respected marketer in our industry. People don't just want to look at numbers. They want to be entertained. And that's how we connect and build that deep-rooted trust and always stay top of mind. And then lastly, I want to give you an example and talk about something I hear no one talking about in our industry, which is how these platforms actually work, whether it be LinkedIn or one of the other ones. So I think we're all aware that the objective for these platforms is to retain the audiences and the eyeballs as long as possible. Now, if you get a big creator to engage in your content, you will get more reach. And why is that? Because to that social media company, this person has proven that they can retain the audience. So they're now a trusted asset. So when they engage in your content, it basically validates you in their ecosystem, which is why you get more reach, right? So I understood this. So I wanted to start writing some content top of funnel to get these big creators engaging, but also, remember the strategy piece I talked about, link it back to what we're doing so we can still influence our ideal customer. So this post here, if you can read it, is about how we're using as a marketing agency LinkedIn to make sales. This post got about 200,000 impressions, and the creators that are engaging in it, Charles Miller, Jake Ward, Lara Costa. No one in our industry, and I don't know if you know these guys are some of the biggest creators on LinkedIn. But the reach was great. That's actually not the most important thing that I want you guys to take away from this. I built relationships with these people. Now, they might not have massive businesses yet, but these guys are geniuses when it comes to building big audiences online. Remember when I talked about the leverage point? They understand such an important part of the future that I believe that we all need to humble ourselves, drop our ego, and understand, create relationships with these people and learn from them. Because now I have relationships with these guys. I have, the up-to-date best practices all of the time on how to grow faster on these platforms. So, take the advice for what it is, but I recommend you do the same. And then the compounding effect. So this is my LinkedIn analytics since I started in February 2023. Every single one of these little blue lines here is one weekday that I've posted. So for context, it took me about 12 months to gain a following of 10,000 people. And then in the last 2 months, I've added another 14,000. So that shows you what compounding does and how this asset works on itself. But the thing is even though I really appreciate the fact to talk to all of you guys today, I'm not satisfied in the slightest. And I don't want you guys to be either. I don't want you to look at that and think, wow, that's great, Nigel. I want you to look at that and think, wow, imagine that on a 5 to 10 year time horizon, because that's when the serious opportunities start happening. And that's what I'm going to do. I don't recommend that any of you guys, you do all the platforms at the same time, which I see a lot happening, just going to say, and doing all the mediocre. Start off on one platform, crack it, build momentum, then build an in-house marketing team, and then start distributing. Because that's when you create a massive flywheel effect, and that is when you'll start getting the opportunities like I've talked about Stephen Bartlett earlier. What about our results? What are the results? All the vanity metrics are great. What actual results has this brought our agency? Hired our best team members. So I'll give you one example. Our ops guy, he came inbound to us. This guy could have gone and worked at a Fortune 500 company, extremely talented. But he came to want to work with me in the agency because he saw those stories. He saw the personality, and he bought into what we were doing. He wasn't there for the money. He just wanted to be a part of this mission. So imagine how much time you spend on recruitment, and imagine the best A players in the market coming to you guys asking for a job. Secondly, our best ever client, Eczema Honey. So I'm a sufferer of eczema myself. I started using these guys' products and did a post on LinkedIn, just a story talking about how I love the brand, expecting nothing in return, literally. But subsequently, the owner, Manesh, he reached out to me, we made a friendship. We now run their entire marketing, but the craziest part of this story is that he invited me out to Arkansas to the Walmart head offices to be part of their pitch to Walmart to get in 4,000 stores across the US. Imagine that, a stranger from LinkedIn that he took a risk on to be part of their biggest business opportunity to date. If that doesn't show you the power of online personal branding and storytelling, I don't know what will. Then our biggest deal is closing inbound. Now, look, it's great to have a new sales channel, but I actually don't want to talk about that. I want to touch on the operational impact to your business. Contrary to what a lot of people say, I actually believe share all of your secrets, as well as your deepest, darkest, personal secrets. Also share all of your company processes. And the reason why you want to do that is because when the clients come to you, they're already bought in on your exact roadmap that you're going to take them through. And then all your team has to do is execute against that, which means a massively, increased efficiency on the operations side. But what does that lead to? Team happiness. So put a price on that. And then lastly, speaking at events like this, never in a million years, when I, just over 12 months ago, in my bedroom, posting some statuses out on LinkedIn, did I think that I'd be up here today talking to you guys about how to build a personal brand. So this shows you the kind of doors this opens. And I don't know where Rachel is, but I just wanted to shout out Rachel because as well as giving me this opportunity, she's completely changed my life. She is one of the truest people in this industry. She has such a big heart, and I just think we should all be so grateful to have her as part of this community, and obviously she's built this for us. But from the bottom of my heart, I don't know where she is, but there she is. I appreciate you, Rachel. Thank you. So I'll leave you with this. The best time to start building an online brand and personality was 5 years ago, probably 10. I wish I'd started sooner. But and here's a big caveat. The second best time is now. So you can keep telling yourself, I've not got time, I'm solving all these business problems, or make that tiny decision just like I did and start building this asset which can open all the doors for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Nigel Thomas, and this is my story. My question to you is, what's yours? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nigel. I'll take the clicker from you.
Cheers.
Appreciate it, man. That was awesome.